Hello everyone, in the next video from Flashpoint campaign Southern Storm, and today we will take a look at the final, probably the most boring part of that tutorial. We will go through counters layout, or the units layout, or the general the description of the units we can use on the battlefield, either on map or off map, because yeah, we also have off map elements. So we went through all those tabs on the right side, except the bottom one, but it's not really that interesting. It's just the order of battle of our units. So we can see that we have the Squadron HQ. Under Squadron HQ we have ACR Troop, and under ACR Troop we have ACR 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and separate motor section as it is. So that's it. Of course, that's a small unit in general, I would say. In other scenarios, usually we have to manage way larger elements. On the NATO side, though, it's usually a bit smaller compared with the Warsaw Pact, but that's of course related with the doctrine. But okay, without further ado, let's jump into the counter layout, or the counter unit counter as it is called. So let's take maybe just a random one, and that's gonna be the second ACR Troop American Reconnaissance Section. How we can? Hmm. Let me first. Let me think first. Okay, let's start with the picture first. So on that picture we can see quite a few information, and we will start from the top left, and that indicates the movement class. So in that case we have L, and I'm quite confused by L because I know that the T stands for tracked. I would expect the W to be wheeled. So L is quite confusing for me. Why is that L? What it can stand for? So the Bradley is the tracked vehicle, of course. That's quite obvious. Why is that L? Let's jump quickly into the tank platoon, and you can see that the tank is tracked. So we have the small or the uppercase letter T. That's quite obvious. Why is that L on in case of the Bradley and or in general that counter? Quite confusing to me. I would like to ask somebody with more knowledge. I have a manual on the left side of my screen. I'm trying to find that information, but looks like I have no idea what it stands for. Okay, so that means that I'm not well prepared, but it really doesn't matter. You know that the Bradley is a tracked vehicle. You can see that. So yeah, that's the indication of the movement class. Uh, but I don't know why it's L, what it stands for. I'm gonna check it later. Don't waste time on it. Let's jump to another thing on that counter, which is basically those two dots or bullets, I should say, and that represents the size of the unit. In that case, that's a section, which is two bullets, as it is. We also have one bullet, which stands for the team, and that's the lowest level, I would say. The lowest level of the order of battle, the unit's composition. I think, do we have one with the unit with one bullet? So I could show you. Not. Okay, that's fine. Usually the two bullets is called the section. Sometimes it's called At least in manual they call it also the squad, but I've noticed that the elements with the one bullet are also called squad. So usually for the one bullet it's squad, for two bullets it's section, then we have the three bullets, and you can see that's a platoon. Next we have one dash or one line, and one line is company. Then we have the two lines like that, which is the battalion, and three lines is regiment. Then we have the X, which is brigade, double X, which is army, three X's is corps, as far as I remember. The four, am I correct? The two X's are for sure division. Do we need to care about well, it's up to most. I mean, in that game at least, it's up to regiment, maybe brigade level. So that's it. It can be quite confusing for you because you can see that we have two dashes here, and it says American Tank HQ Company, despite the fact that two dashes indicate the battalion element. So that's a bit confusing. I don't know whether it's a bug or maybe it means that the HQ company is element of the battalion, which makes of course sense, but practically speaking, it's not the company. It indicates the battalion level. So yeah, it can be quite confusing. So well, anyway, I need to make sure why is that. Um, I really don't know why. It can be a bug though. I would like to check in other scenarios how it looks like. So anyway, let's go back quickly to those bullets. So the one bullet is usually a squad or the team. It consists of 2 to 4 troops and usually some specific weapon. And such a specific weapon can be the Stinger, for example, or some kind of ATGM like TOW2 manned by people, like the two-man squad, or something. The two bullets, as you can see here, that's a section. Let's call it a section. That includes 2 to 3 platforms. So in that case, you have two Bradleys and 4 to 10 troops in general, I would say, or on average. The three bullets, as I've said, platoon, that consists of 3 to 5 platforms. In that case, we have 4 Abrams tanks, uh, or 30 to 40 troops. So that's regarding the men. Next, we have the company. In that case, I don't have any company size element. I only have the HQ. And the company consists of 3 to 4 platoons, uh, also including the HQ, of course, and on average it's something between 150 to 200 men, 200 troops. So yeah, if you multiply 3 or 4 platoons by 30 or 40, which is one platoon, then you have such a number. Uh, in case of the battalion, so two dashes, we have 3 to 4 companies. Usually, I think it's 3 companies. Of course, it depends on the country. The HQ section and some kind of special elements like specialty elements like engineer platoon or something similar, and it's about 500 to 800 men. I'm sorry. And next we have the regiment, which consists 3 to 4 battalions. In some armies there is no regiment level, regimental level. It's after battalion we have brigade, and it also consists 3 or 4 battalions. The HQ platoon. What else? Some kind of specialty companies or platoons. It depends also on the order of battle. The artillery battery, also as a part of the brigade or the regiment, uh, and it consists of around 1,000 to 3,000 troops. Of course, it all depends on the army. It all depends on the organization. So that's about it. By the way, it was kind of additional information, not really related to what we can see on the screen. So let's go back to our second ACR troop. What else we can see on the counter? Of course, maybe I should start with that before we went to that L and to bullets. So we have the NATO symbol, and that's the armored cavalry symbol. You can see that here we have the armored, mm, basically the armor unit, which is basically tanks, nothing special. What else? Then we have that's the symbol for the mortar, or in general the, well, not really the artillery. For example, the towed howitzer has just one big bullet inside. I think we will see it in the tutorial 3. That's a very specific counter image for the mortar element. It's not that much popular. Uh, Here you can see the image for the counter of HQ. Usually that kind of zigzag indicates the signal uh, or or the communication element, and in the background you can see that's the armored one. So that's it. Then we have of course the name, which is the second ACR troop. In the bottom left we have the number of active runners, so called. So basically the number of active subunits. As you can see, we have four, two Bradleys and two cavalry scouts. Next, we have unit status. The green one indicates that everything is fine with the unit. Down below, well, we don't have anything. It's only visible on the map when the element moves. So we have bottom right corner, and that's the unit order. S indicates screen. We have also H for the halt, and we have M for movement, and also we have, I believe, A for the assault. I'm not quite sure. We will see throughout the gameplay. And usually, I think that information, the S or H is the most interesting one for us, so we can know which units are screening, which units are holding. If units are moving, we usually know that the unit is supposed to move or assault or any other action we've planned before. What else? That's it for the counter itself. The counter has a few additional information while it's moving on the map, while it's engaging. Those informations are displayed on the map. By the way, I see. Yeah, okay. So the HQ element is has also indication that it's HQ. So that H in the top right corner indicates that's the headquarters unit. But other than that, I think all that's all what we should cover about the counter itself. Yeah, I think so. So let's jump into what else? Maybe let's start with that information on the right side. So that says that we have 2 times Cavalry Scouts and 2 times M3A1 Bradley, which is 2 times Recce and 2 times APC, which is Armored Personal Carrier. By the way, Bradley can also be the IFV, which is Infantry Fighting Vehicle. The information where the unit is, so we can click on that and the hex pops up on the map itself. Then the information about the experience, that's a veteran unit, and the role, which is Recce. Not under fire, zero enemy units spotted as of 0600. Uh, so usually we jump into subunits, sub tab, and we can see what kind of units we have, whether they are damaged, destroyed, fallen out, and all that stuff. The most interesting part of that tab, I think, is the top right side, which is the information about the ammunition. So the key ammunition is 100%. Readiness, morale, range to HQ, which is also important. In that case, it doesn't matter because the scout or the recce units can work without the connection to HQ. Uh, Orders delay 0 minutes. That's because of no electronic warfare comms interference, which is good. And I think that's it about that tab. We have also the information about the screening order in that hex, as I've mentioned before, and also the uh, like a quick look of the order standard operating procedures. So we have all that information here. If you would like to quickly look at that, all or click on Edit Order SOP, and we can modify all of that. But before we do that, we will jump into subunits, or let's go back quickly to that, and we can see that also we have the orders on the left side. For now it's only the screen, but let's just to present that, we will try to move that unit somewhere and screen, and you can see that we have two new orders. We have move hasty to hex 1221 and move hasty to hex 1319, and then screen in that hex. So that shows us the orders we have given to the unit. So for now we can delete all of that and we can jump to subunits. So in the subunits tab we can see what kind of elements are part of that unit. So in that case it's 2 times Bradley and 2 times Cavalier Scout. Each Bradley consists of 25mm M242 autocannon. We have 150 bursts of fire of that. Then we have 7.62mm M240, 120 bursts of fire, and BGM 71D TOW 2, 12 rounds per each Bradley, as far as I understand. I'm not sure though. Is it per Bradley or per or both of them? Yeah, I'm wondering because now I cannot differentiate that, of course, because I'm clicking because they have full ammunition, so it doesn't say anything. I'm not sure whether it's per Bradley or per unit of the same kind. We will see throughout the gameplay, but that's in general quite important information. So whenever your unit engages the enemy, you want to check how much ammunition is at the end of the phase, so you can either resupply the unit or move it somewhere to the reserve to refit, or maybe change slightly standard operating procedures so they are going to engage in a different way. So that's it. You can go through all of that. You can also go into more details, double click on the unit or the subunit inspector, and see all that detailed information like the crew of 3, profile size of 4, carrying capacity 1 point, mobility type, truck, maximum speed 66 km per hour, amphibious. What else? The protection against the armor piercing and high explosives anti-tank. So we have the turret, we have the hull, we have the information about the front, side, top, rear, NBC protection, additional defensive mechanism and engineer abilities like hull to turret ratio type 4, NBC limited protection, smoke discharger normal, and all of that. So that's for the platform. You have also the weapons or the armaments. You can see the information about the 25 millimeter chain gun. We have the information about the range, and that's quite important. We have the information like air defense capable limited targets, fast fire rate, ammo. What else? We have the information about 7.62, vehicle support weapon, the range, above the toe, also the range, all those features and so on. So that's a bit for, I would say, weaponry geeks, but sometimes it's useful to check, for example, whether your Bradley is capable of fighting in the night because of the optics it has, or maybe it has the greater range than the Soviet counterparts, so we can place them far back and we can eliminate targets from the greater distance. So it's all about the equipment and the usage, the tactics, the doctrines. So it's quite important. The doctrine of NATO compared with Warsaw Pact or the Soviets was quite different. It's still, of course, different. There are different goals. Weaponry is designed differently. Also, it's more about the survival ability and outranging the enemies instead of pushing hard with unlimited or limited resources, like in case of Soviets. So in case of NATO, it's more quality over quantity. In case of Warsaw Pact, it's more about quantity over quality. So that's about the weapons. Then we have the sensors and also a lot of geek kind of ish information. If you would like to read it, feel free to do that. You can see that we have the thermal imager sites, detect 8,000 meters, classify 3.5 thousand meters, and identify 3,000 meters. And the last, we have the systems, so extra capabilities, periscope sighted system, amphibious unit, and tow capable platform. So a lot of interesting information, that's for sure. Also, we have the information that that's the American unit from 1983 in service. We have 12 active in game, which is basically 6 scout sections times 2 Bradleys per each section. 0 fallen out, 0 destroyed, and 83 victory points cost. I think that's it about that, and every unit in the game has such a sub tab. You can see that Cavalry Scout infantry unit, and also you can see that in service from 1985. General information, crew of 5, blah blah blah, mobility type. Oh, okay, now I know. Now I know. It's the leg. L stands for leg. Okay, kind of stupid. Anyway, so yeah, they use their legs to move. Maximum speed 14 kilometers per hour. Okay, that's decent. Protection, blah blah blah. Weapons, sensors, systems, and so on. So you have such a tab, subunit, so-called subunit inspector for every unit in the game, which is very nice. Next, we have the staff tab and what in staff. By the way, I would like to click. Okay, never mind. We have the staff alerts and reminders, so it's directly supported by the mortar. So, for example, if your unit decides to call in fire support, the mortar, which is that one on the map, can provide them the fire support. Additionally, we know that that's the amphibious unit, so yeah, we've already seen that information a couple of times. Claims none. Claims means that they've killed, destroyed, or captured enemy units. Active contacts none at this time. So it's sometimes it's worth taking a look at that tab and seeing what kind of stuff is related with with that particular unit. This is some kind of also the unit log, which is the next tab, and in the next tab we can see basically the log, so we can see what has happened at certain time period with the unit, whether they were engaging enemy, they've spotted enemy, they've lost some units, or some units were out of ammunition, and so on. So bunch of stuff related directly with that unit and what's going on the map. Also sometimes worth taking a look because we can miss some information while the battle is resolving, and we would like to see in detail what has happened with certain unit, why we've lost the vehicle, why we've lost the section, what has happened, why the unit is retreating. All that stuff we can see also in the unit log. So okay, that's it about those four tabs. Now I think finally we can jump into the last one, which is standard operating procedures. And standard operating procedures are supposed to be kind of a guidance for your unit. So first of all, we have the so-called scope. So for each separate order, we can adjust the standard operating procedure. So if unit moves, for example, from Riedheim to Marbach, we want that unit to use roads. But when it starts moving from Marbach to, let's say, let's move it to Bad Dürkheim, now we want to prioritize the concealment. We want the unit to refuse fire. We don't want the unit to relocate when, for example, taking any kind of losses or receiving indirect or direct fire, and so on. So you can see that we can set up that kind of a few important aspects of the unit's behavior. First, we have the stance. So we have the tactical initiative. I don't think there is any additional information what it means, the tactical initiative. Uh, then we have the acceptable losses, which is do or die, substantial, moderate, minimal, and preferred standoff range. So that's basically how far from the enemy unit we want to keep our unit. So if the enemy closes into our unit in less than 2 hexes, then our unit will try to uh, relocate, and that's also related with the tactical initiative and acceptable losses. Uh, I have the manual on the left side, so maybe I can find the information about what's the tactical initiative. Let me quickly find it. Probably I won't find it because yeah, I've just typed in the tactical initiative information. I mean the sentence. I'm trying to find it. Give me a second. Whether you can blah blah blah. Not really. It's quite. I should find it before. What's that? Okay. Anyway, I think. Okay, I have information about the move hasty, screen hold, rest and resupply. Can I find what it means? The tactical initiative? Blah blah blah. Not really. Going further down. Fires. Yeah, it's a lot of information, but I still cannot find it. Okay, standard operating procedures. I found it. The scope. Okay, the stance. Okay, let's read it. The tactical initiative. This is the likelihood of a unit deviating from its orders or pathing based on the current situation it is in, under fire, outnumbered, etc. These settings are none, slight, moderate, or generous. Okay, so in general, the tactical initiative says that if you gave some order to your unit, that unit, based on the situation on the battlefield, can behave differently based on their own on on its own judgment. If you put none, then the unit will strictly adjust to your directives. If you put it into generous, it can do kind of maybe not whatever they want, but adapt to the situation. And that's quite common in the NATO countries where higher command gives general orders and the tactical initiative goes down to the commanders in field. So they get just the objective, the mission to accomplish, and the all tactical decisions are up to the unit and its commanders itself, which is quite nice. But that's also related with how good your unit is, how much experience it has, because the less experienced unit, then you have to micromanage it more. That's how it works in real life. That's how war in Ukraine presented also. So that's about the tactical initiative. Then we have the acceptable losses, and also let's read it quickly. This is the unit's willingness to take losses before seeking a change in orders. This works with the tactical initiative above to set how a unit reacts. The settings for this are do or die, substantial, moderate, or minimal. So that's also if we don't accept any so if the unit is supposed not to accept any losses, so we set it to do or die, they will also adjust their behavior. If the acceptable losses are minimal, then probably in the tough situation, unit will decide to relocate to find a better place to minimize those losses. So that's it. Then we have that preferred standoff range I've described briefly before. Let's also read the description. The number of 500-meter hexes you wish the units to be distant from an enemy unit if possible. So that's quite clear. Then we jump into combat. Here we have the direct fire discipline. We can set up what kind of fire discipline we wish. So we have the refuse fire, hold until fired on, great for ambushes, I believe, uh, or for in general concealment and waiting for the enemy to go past by you. Point blank, 0 to 1 hex, which is from 0 to 500 meters. Short range, 1.3 maximum range of the unit. Medium range, 2/3 of max range, and maximum range. We will also take a look at the ranges in a while. Relocate when? After each fire mission, after all fire missions, and so on. Never, if you wish. I will not read all of that. It's quite self-explanatory. Provide direct support too. I think that's also quite self-explanatory. For example, if you want that mortar unit to provide the direct support for that particular second ACR troop, we can set it up, for example, by clicking boom that. We are in the mortar unit tab. We can select units in same formation or lower, specified HQ or lower. We can press that. We can set up which one? The second one. Boom. It's now it's supposed to provide direct support to the second ACR troop, which is really cool feature. Let's go back to my second ACR. Next, we have the movement, and in movement we have preferences like concealment, roads, and avoid nuclear, biological, and chemical. Uh, what else? Well, usually when we move into the line, we want to move quite quickly. We probably will try to focus on using the roads. When we get closer into enemy or we want to conceal our movements, then we set up the concealment. Then we have the minefield contact. About the minefield contact, any interesting information I'm trying to find? Yeah, minefield contact. This is the unit's response to entering a minefield. The options here are ignore and run, do not delay and accept the potential for more sub-unit losses crossing the field. In stride breach, which is what we have now, units slow down to follow a leader through the field, hoping to avoid mines by traveling in the same tracks. That's quite dangerous in the open fields because they become easy targets, but it also can minimize losses if there is no enemy fire going on and we want to go through the minefield, so we should follow the same track to minimize losses. Or stop and reduce. Units halt and either wait for engineers to remove enough mines to open a path through, or do the work themselves at a slower rate. So you can see ignore and run, in stride breach, stop and reduce. I believe the ignore and run is only for the Soviets. Jokes aside, but that's actually true. Okay, so that's it about the movement. Then we have the transports. Passengers disembark at range, and we have one hex from end of path, and we also have a setting to from enemy. So I think that's quite good if we know where are the enemies, so we can set up some, let's call it the standoff hex. Mm, for example, we are breaching the city. We know that the enemies are here in Bad Dürkheim, and we would like to disembark just one hex from the enemy somewhere there. Of course, well, it's not the best idea to disembark in the open field, but just for the sake of example. I think it's quite self-explanatory also. Carriers when empty. So in case of that, we have the Bradley carrying the cavalry scout, and here we have two options. So we have support passengers. So the Bradley will directly support the cavalry scout element, and that's a great feature for the mechanized infantry traveling by IFVs or IPCs. So you're especially in case of IFVs, it's a good idea to support the infantry. In case of APCs, less, and in case of such vehicles like M113, it's even less. They are only supposed to deliver infantry to a certain point, and then infantry is supposed to fight alone. But in case of IFVs, which are infantry fighting vehicles, they are designed to support passengers, which is infantry. Or we can hide nearby, and that's a great, for example, for the Humvees, which are supposed to travel or deliver your Stinger teams or tow teams somewhere. You don't want to use those Humvees because they are paperish, so you prefer to hide them nearby and use them later for either retreat or other movement action. And next we have, well, in last, practically speaking, we have the recovery. So resupply, the trigger is at 25%. We can also, of course, modify that. Then recover to 100%, which means that if we get down to 25% of key ammunition, the unit is going to resupply mode. They retreat. They are going for resupplies. They are out of engagement, out of battle, and they are supposed to recover up to 100% of key ammunition. Of course, we can modify that, or we can change that. The, the readiness, and the trigger is also at the 25% and recover, but here we have the setting in minutes. The readiness is also that here we have the readiness. Uh, the trigger is, well, by default is set up to the same, so 25%, but the recovery is set in minutes, not in percentage, but we can also modify it. So if we want the unit to be ready in 75%, we can just increase it or type it in just like that. Quite simple, quite important. Of course, in that small scenario, not really, but if you have a greater scenario, greater battle, greater skirmish, then you are supposed to also modify that respectively. And last couple of buttons, so we can assign those SOPs only to this unit. As you can see, we can cancel, we can apply to self and all subordinates. I think that's the case for the HQ, I believe. Might be true, might be not. I don't think I ever clicked on that. I don't even remember. Uh, anyway, next we have apply to all units of same type, and that's quite good because by clicking that we can set up the same default standard operating procedure for all 6 scout units which are of the same type, and that's quite useful because from that you can build on. So you just set up some default template, and then if you wish to modify for each separate unit you can do it. As far as I know, in the latest patch, which is going to be released, I believe, quite soon, we can just unselect those units. So, for example, we want to only set up the the same kind of SOP for ACR 1, 2, and maybe 4. So we can just unclick the 3, 5, and 6 and do it quite handy. There is also the other way, so we can copy that SOP and we can paste it by clicking on the right side here. But I'm not using that at all. And also we have a button to apply to this and later unit orders. So if we have couple of different orders, we've decided to change one of them, like for example that one, and we want to apply all the same settings to all other orders down the line, we can just click on that and they will apply. I think that's also quite self-explanatory. I think I've wasted too much time already on that. So that's it about SOPs. We have a quick brief of SOPs here. If we double click on the unit counter, we can see that order SOP, and we have all those information: tactical initiative, acceptable losses, blah blah blah. All it's there so you can read it. I know it can be quite overwhelming from your perspective right now, but I'm just doing that just for the sake of showing everything right now, or at least the basics. But when you play, you of course you take a look at all of that, but you don't spend like an hour or two just by reading all that stuff, going through all the tabs and blah blah blah. It doesn't make any sense. It is supposed to be a tool you can use and not like the book to read, and not taking anything out of it doesn't make really sense, right? So that's it. Of course, every unit has the editor for the SOPs is the same for every unit, so don't worry. Okay, what else we have? I think the couple of other things we can we have those tabs above, but also I think that the buttons down below are quite more important. So very quickly, let's start with the LOS, which is line of sight. You can see that it shows where our unit can see. Yeah, it shows the number in points. Also, you can click at different different hexes. I'm shift clicking now, so it shows the visibility of that unit from at different places. So it's just kind of like the assumption that that unit can see that being in that hex. That's quite useful. Well, not quite useful. That's very useful, and we are going to spend a lot of time in that mode just by checking where our unit can see because it's quite important So for example, if we would like to control the exit from the Bad Dürkheim, we can do that from, well, yeah, we can do that from here. We can do that from here, here. Well, not from here, not really. Yeah, you can see that's useful. But for from here, we can easily see a lot of terrain. We can see that crossroad here. So if they decide to outflank us, we can spot them in time. So that's the line of sight. It's very useful. Then we have the paths, and paths shows basically the movement of our units. So just let me draw quickly some path. Let's commit, boom, screen, and now I'm going to click to the other unit and enable paths, and now I can see that the unit is one of those units is supposed to move here to Bad Dürkheim following the main road. So that's about the paths. Then we have the ranges. So let's click on that unit. I'm gonna delete it. We don't need it. And ranges shows the uh, how far and how effective certain unit can see or engage. So you can see that first is the spottable ring, and that's about 2.5 thousand meters, 2.5 kilometers. Then we have the effective and max, which is 3.750 meters, uh, 3,750 meters or 3.7 kilometers just in short. And then we have the spotting capability at 10,000 meters. Of course, it's the maximum range. Usually, yeah, seeing at 10,000 meters, it's quite 10 kilometers. Wow, it's quite challenging, but certainly you can see something. So uh, that's it. Then we have the SOP, and you can see based on that we have the standoff, which is 2 hexes. Let's prove it. Yeah, it's 2 hexes. So you can see the ring at 1,000 meters, 1 kilometers. Then you have the fire medium range. Let's see also. Yeah, it's now the medium range setting, and you can see how far it's going to shoot, and that's really good information. You want to make sure that the unit, for example, sitting here, they can shoot effectively at the Bad Dürkheim crossing, and they cannot. But what if we modify it to maximum range? We are going to apply that. Now, the fire maximum range is 3.7 kilometers, and if we set up that unit, boom, here we can easily hit, well, not really easily, but we can hit the crossroads at the center of Bad Dürkheim, and we can see all those points which indicate how effective the fire is going to be. So that's about the SOP, very useful. And we have the special and show the special overlay last selected from the overlay menus. So that's also related with all of that. I don't know what the special really does. Maybe because I'm not using it. We have the ruler also, so oh, that's the special. Okay, yeah, okay, cool. So it shows just the last option or the overlay. Yeah, let's call it overlay, just as it is written. Anyway, so we can see the ruler. You can see. I'm usually not using that, but it is. We have the emissions. Well, we cannot see any emissions because nothing is emitting right now. But if we have radars, then we should see it, and it's quite useful. Spottable from. That's also quite nice information. Well, that's very nice information. So we can see where the thermal can. Well, is that related with the unit itself or yeah, the radar and thermal? Uh, I think it's against our unit, but I'm not sure. Range rings. Okay, then we have the multi-unit overlay. Blah blah blah. Yeah, fire support missions. Yeah, we could see where the fire support missions are going to be provided. Fire support coverage, air defense against planes. Blah blah blah. Many more options. We will not get into that because it's already too boring either for me or for you. But those are all useful options and they are supposed to be used during the actual gameplay. So I think without further ado, we are going to finish that video. It was, well, it were three kind of boring videos for you, probably for me also. But in the next video, we are going to finally start some gameplay. We will start with that tutorial first, the basics. It's quite simple, but we will see how it goes on the map, how the game results, and how we can use different tools to our disposal, to our advantage. But for today, that's all. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.